Thank you, Coach. While we wait on questions, could you please take a moment to comment on your team as you enter the UAB game this week?
Yeah, certainly. Excited about the opportunity to get back out, and this is our last home game, and so we've got 17 seniors that we're honoring, 13 graduates. So last home game, recognizing our seniors, playing a really good UAB team, one of the top rushers in the country, over 1,400 yards, and then really a team that could easily be 8 or 9 win team. So they've got our attention. We're excited about sending our seniors off with the victory, and that's been really our focus. This entire week is playing to our standards, and obviously it's been a great year, but we still have a lot of work to do.
First up, we have Bob Holt at Arkansas Democrat Gazette.
Hey, Brian, how you doing?
Good, Bob.
I'm not sure how much you stay in touch with Clark Lee during the season, but just wondering what your thoughts were on that big win Vandy had and breaking that losing streak and the job he's doing there.
Yeah, really excited for Clark, and we stay in touch. Certainly, he had to make some big decisions. Obviously the quarterback situation earlier in the year, and look, building a program is hard, and you have to be able to stick with your process, and he has, and they're starting to see that begin to pay off, and the payoff is the smiles and the post-game celebrations, and it's good to see that they got one of those.
And I read about you guys having chicken broth on your sideline, which in retrospect seems like a really good idea, but I'd never thought about doing that. Is that something you did at Notre Dame, or kind of how'd you come up with that?
Dr. Frakes is our nutritionist, and he's always looking for ways to, get our guys to handle, the elements, as well as we've had some guys cramping even in the cold weather. So, getting the sodium, getting the salt in their system, plus obviously the warm broth. It's, just one of those things that he's researched that felt like it would be a good thing for our guys at the time.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Next is Teresa Walker, the Associated Press.
Coach, you mentioned building a program. Why would it have been maybe reasonable for your LSU AD Scott Woodward to tell you last December, we'd like you to win the SEC West in your first year and preferably have it all wrapped up by November 12th last December?
Well, I think you have to look at the circumstances when you come into any business or organization. What is the organizational health? And the organizational health was such that it needed to be rebooted. And, that started with, new coaches, new support staff. We had, 39 scholarship players that are available for the bowl game. So it would not have been a realistic expectation. I think there are some circumstances where there is a transition where those circumstances could be realistic. But I think in this situation, that would not have been a realistic expectation.
And just to follow up, how nice is it, though, to be where you are with this program at this point with a berth in Atlanta locked up?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, any time that you can over-deliver given the circumstances says a lot about the young men and how well they have really bought into a change in the standards, and they've played exceedingly well. We've gotten contributions from kids that weren't on this campus. Obviously, we're playing a number of true freshmen and transfer students that we brought in. So, that's difficult, right? I mean, we didn't have any indication as to how that would all come together, but the kind of kids they are, the production that they've given us has really allowed us to meet and exceed expectations.
Next is Leah Vann of The Advocate.
Coach, you've talked about what helps make it, it's a successful first year, but what specific elements do you think have made it easier at this stop to have a successful first year as a head coach, as opposed to maybe your other stops at Notre Dame or Cincinnati? I mean, I know that 2022 is just a different era of college football.
Well, certainly I came here with my eyes wide open. I knew that, the roster, had some talented players. Certainly there was going to be incredible support from the top all the way down. And I mean, from the president through our athletic director, we were going to have the resources necessary. The resources here are better than anywhere that I've been in my career. And so those resources go to work right away in helping you develop your football program, from, nutrition to strength and conditioning to just having the support necessary from a manpower standpoint. All of those things coming together from the very beginning allow you to have this opportunity to develop and build your football team right away.
Next is Blake Topmeyer of the USA Today Network.
Hey, Brian. I wanted to ask you about the aftermath of your 2016 season at Notre Dame, the one where you all were 4-8. I know you all changed coordinators after that season, but beyond some staff personnel change, how much of an overhaul did you have and did you make in your program after that year?
Yeah, 16 was an interesting year. We lost, I think it was 6 games in the fourth quarter. So it was much more of we made a decision. I made a decision early in the year to make a change at defensive coordinator. I think it was week 3 or week 4. But the changes were much more in the way we did things on a day-to-day basis. And a lot of it had to do with the standards. We upped the standards. We demanded more from each other. I stepped away from having anything to do with play calling, was much more involved in the day-to-day operations with our players. So it was much more of an internal reboot in terms of how we were doing things from a standards operation than it was we went out and got this player or that player. Because obviously in 15, we played the New Year's Six, and then in 17, we won 10 games. So, to do that, to be bookend on both sides of it with 10-win seasons, something internally needed to change. And so those were the changes that were made much more internally than they were from anything else.
I got you. And to follow up, I know you haven't had a losing season since then, but do you think in this era of immediate eligibility for transfers, would it be harder or easier to bounce back for a coach from a season like that?
Well, it's a good question. I think you have to be very careful because chemistry is still the one thing that can really upset a locker room, and finding the right guys and making sure that they're good teammates. Just because they're great players doesn't make them great teammates. And you still have to have 11 guys that trust each other and are accountable to each other. And sometimes you can't find that through, watching film. You've got to get to know them, and you don't get that opportunity through the transfer portal. It's why they call it a portal. They kind of they beam you up onto campus. And so, look, I don't know that anybody really wants to develop their program strictly through the portal. It's still about player development. It's still about knowing the guys and building them through the culture of your program. So, again, I am answering your question based upon you have to be very careful. You can, but you can also, fall flat if you make some mistakes.
Thanks, Brian.
Yeah.
Next, we'll go to Dennis Dodd of CBS Sports.
Well, Brian, you just kind of answered it, but in the big picture, not just at LSU, is the portal sustainable as a philosophy overall to stock a team? Should it be as needed, a blend of both? Where do you think this is headed, just in general, not speaking specifically of LSU?
Yeah, I can give you my philosophy as to how I think it can be managed, and that is you can top the tank off, but your base, most of the tank has to be through player development and development through freshmen, developing your program, getting the right standards set, the culture of your program, and then you can bring in guys because they are going to assimilate to the culture that has been built. You don't want the transfer portal and a number of those guys to set the culture because they don't know what it is, and it takes too long. And so to me, that's where I think the transfer portal is great, but I think you have to understand that it's great if you top your tank off with it and fill in some needed positions, but have the base of your program built through freshman recruiting.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Coach, just going to wrap you up. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.